Joe Rogan just dropped something wild, and now everyone's talking. And guess what? He's calling out the silence around Ellen DeGeneres now that Diddy's drama is all over the place. Like, how is nobody connecting these dots? We're about to dig into why Ellen's name keeps popping up while everyone pretends they don't notice. He's talking about Diddy and those oil parties with 18-year-olds. Do I think it's good? No. I want to beat up their dad, but other than that, I don't really give a f*******. When Diddy got arrested on all those serious charges, the internet went crazy digging up old videos of celebs talking about his parties. And what did they find? A bunch of clips of Ellen and Diddy being super cozy on her show, cracking jokes about those infamous parties that now look real suspicious.
Alright, we're back with Sean Diddy Combs. Is it Diddy today? Because sometimes you're Puffy and sometimes you're Diddy. Or sometimes you're Daddy. What are you today?
I'm so confused today with it, as long as you say it in a nice way.
But wait until you hear what Joe Rogan actually said about this whole situation. According to him, there's a reason no one is really pressing Ellen about her connection to Diddy, even though she had him on her show multiple times and they literally joked about the same parties that are now at the center of criminal investigations. And honestly, when you think about it, the silence is pretty hard to ignore.
So I guess Diddy just kept people at his houses because he's got multiple houses and he's just had freak out part. Look at him! Look at Saucy Santana! Go Saucy!
Yeah, no, Saucy's crazy. Have you seen Saucy?
And here's where things get even wilder. Remember when Ellen's show was cancelled in 2022 after that whole toxic workplace controversy? Well, according to online discussions, that wasn't the end of her troubles. Fast forward to now, and people are pointing out that she left the US after Trump won the election, moved to the UK, and said she wasn't planning on coming back to America. Coincidence? Some folks don't think so, and there are plenty of spicy rumors about what may have been happening behind the scenes that most people still aren't talking about. Okay, so before we jump into the Joe Rogan angle, let's quickly recap why Ellen is even back in the conversation. Back in 2020, her world flipped upside down when a BuzzFeed News report claimed that her show, the one built on the "Be Kind" motto, was actually a tough place to work. We're talking accusations of racism, intimidation, people being fired after taking bereavement days, and managers allegedly making staff miserable. Employees were saying the whole "Be Kind" vibe was just for the cameras. One former staff member even said that the kindness only showed up when the lights were on. That it was all for show. The backlash got so intense that 3 executive producers were fired, and Ellen issued an on-air apology. But here's the twist, most viewers blamed the producers, not Ellen. She managed to distance herself by saying she hadn't known what was happening, even though it was her name on the show. The show pushed through for 2 more seasons before ending in 2022. Ellen claimed it was because the show wasn't challenging anymore, but many people believe the real reason was the damage to her reputation.
As you may have heard, this summer there were allegations of a toxic work environment at our show, and then there was an investigation. I learned that things happened here that never should have happened. I take that very seriously, and I want to say I am so sorry to the people who were affected.
So now let's get to what Joe Rogan actually said about Ellen in this whole Diddy situation. On his podcast, Rogan was talking about how weird it is that so many celebrities were openly talking about Diddy's parties for years, like it was some badge of honor. He specifically mentioned Ashton Kutcher and other celebs who would brag about going to these parties, and you know who was one of the main people having these conversations? With Diddy on camera, Ellen freaking DeGeneres.
You don't have any real personal beef with Diddy, but it's gotta go down. The bits are there. I'm a gold miner. I just found some gold.
Rogan pointed out something a lot of people are thinking but not saying out loud. How did all these famous people go to these parties and not notice anything? Diddy is now facing serious charges, including allegations about so-called freak-off parties where illegal things supposedly happened, and yet celebrities like Ellen, who literally had multiple on-air conversations with Diddy about these parties, are completely silent right now. The part people online find the most suspicious? In a 2018 interview, Diddy told Ellen, "I invite you to all my parties, but you just haven't seemed to show up." Then he explained that the parties start around 9:30 p.m., but the real parties, the different type of party, kick off at midnight on the top floors of hotels. Ellen's reaction? She laughed and said, "Oh no, I know about them." Wait, you know about them?
Is that going to be a new thing? Are you going to try to be early?
Yes, I'm trying to be early.
Are you going to be early for my party?
Yes, I am. No.
No.
You don't have to arrive fashionably late.
All right. Not too late, though.
Not too late?
Not too late, please.
What time would you like me there?
I'll tell you later.
Okay,
but not too late, because, you know, once you get there, the party really starts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's break down why this even matters and why Joe Rogan thinks it's suspicious that nobody is really talking about Ellen's connection to all of this. First off, Ellen had Diddy on her show at least 3 different times that we know of, and every single time, they joked and laughed about his legendary parties. In a 2002 interview with Conan O'Brien, Diddy even joked about needing locks on the doors for his parties. Back then, people treated it like a harmless, funny comment, but now, with the accusations he's facing, that old joke hits very differently.
Right. You know, so if you don't have what they need, they're gonna leave.
Right.
Gotta keep them there.
Right.
You need locks on the doors.
This is sounding kind of dangerous now.
It's a little kinky, but yeah.
But here's what makes Ellen's situation even more interesting. After Diddy was arrested in September 2024, old clips of their interviews started going viral again. That's when people began asking things like, what did Ellen know, and why isn't she saying anything? Internet detectives even dug up a strange 2016 tweet where Ellen jokingly called Diddy Cuddle McSnuggle stuff. And when paparazzi recently asked her about the Diddy allegations, she completely dodged the questions and looked noticeably uncomfortable. Her body language basically said everything without saying a word.
And I do feel like you may not do that. You're neat though, right? I would imagine your closet is color coordinated. Everything is hung in a certain, right? So you're neat, it's just that you're not the person that puts it back. All right.
Joe Rogan's point is pretty simple. If you were close enough to Diddy to have him on your show several times, joke about his parties, and even say you knew about them, then you'd think you'd be willing to speak up now that he's facing criminal charges. The silence from Ellen, and other celebs, is what Rogan says feels suspicious. But hold on, because there's another layer to this whole thing that makes it even messier. Remember that toxic workplace scandal we mentioned earlier? Well, according to former employees who spoke to various outlets back in 2025, Ellen wasn't just mean. They claimed she created an environment where people were afraid to speak up about anything. Sound familiar? That's the same type of environment people have alleged existed around Diddy, where everyone supposedly knew things were happening but didn't want to say anything because of the power dynamics. One former cameraman said Ellen had this look they called the Ellen gaze, which he described as a queen scanning for her next execution. He said staff were genuinely scared of her. Another insider claimed she banned Gordon Ramsay from her show for 8 seasons just because he made a joke about her cooking during a segment. The pattern people point to is control and silence. Ellen allegedly controlled her set through fear, and critics say Diddy controlled his circle in a similar way. Both had people around them who felt too intimidated to speak up. Now, let's get into some of the wildest details people keep bringing up about both Ellen and Diddy, the stuff that makes this rabbit hole go even deeper. Tons of celebrities have publicly praised Diddy's parties for years. LeBron James once said, "Ain't no party like a Diddy party." Ben Stiller even appeared in a Bad Boys music video, joking about those parties. But Ellen? She was one of the few who openly admitted on camera that she knew about the different types of parties Diddy threw. That alone has the internet asking questions.
Diddy party, but there's a camera that swings around and they go, hey yo, oh, Odell Beckham, and you see Justin Bieber's head come up from his crotch, and he looks in the camera and he's very confused. It's a really disturbing video.
At that time, Puff was the biggest guy in the world. You know, you couldn't get in his parties. And he was throwing a party, he said, yo, Playboy, this party's $1.5 million. I said, for what? I mean, what are you going to say that? It costs $1.5 million to throw this party. I said, Puff, I love it. The party's amazing. Yes, the mayor is here and everything. I said, but that's too much work. I said, you come to my place in LA, I'll throw you a party for $400. That will rival this party. And he got a little mad. He was like, yo, no, I'm known for this.
In 2009, right after Chris Brown was accused of hitting Rihanna, Ellen questioned Diddy on her show about why he let Chris Brown stay at his house. Ellen took a strong stance against domestic violence, saying, "I don't want any girl thinking it's okay to go back to a guy who hit her." But fast forward to 2020, and her own staff were publicly claiming they experienced toxic behavior and mistreatment behind the scenes of her show. The internet didn't miss the irony, and the hypocrisy is what people keep calling out. Y'all.
Well, this leads me to the perfect thing, because I would like you to clear something up. There's a lot of talk going on with Chris Brown being at your place in Miami, and you arranging Chris and Rihanna getting back together.
And it's my house. And I'm allowed to get my house wherever I want to get my house.
Sure.
So that's number one. Number two is that I'm the type of person that I don't cast a stone or cast a judgment on anybody. And so if a friend or friends ask me for a favor, then I'm going to be there for a favor.
In November 2024, right after Trump won the election, Ellen and her wife Portia sold their Montecito mansion and moved to rural England. Sources close to them claimed they weren't planning to return to the US. Ellen said it was because of the election, but here's the thing, Diddy's trial was heating up at the same time, and more celebrity names were being mentioned in court documents. Now we're getting into stuff that most people didn't really hear about. In late May 2025, rumors started circulating that Ellen had an arrest warrant tied to her former DJ, Stephen Twitch Boss, who passed away in December 2022. The rumor even claimed that a recording
All right, well, let me catch up on what's been going on with me since you saw me last. I decided to take up gardening. I got chickens. Let me see what else I can tell you about that's been going on. Oh yeah, I got kicked out of show business.
Trial. Fact checkers like Snopes confirmed this wasn't true. But here's the question. Why did this rumor even start? What connection did people think existed between Ellen, Twitch, and Diddy? Some online speculators suggested Twitch may have known too much about what went on behind the scenes at Ellen's show, and maybe even Hollywood's darker side. Obviously, these are just theories, and nothing has been proven. But it shows how deep the distrust runs. In her September 2024 Netflix special, For Your Approval, Ellen addressed being kicked out of show business. She joked about it, saying the "Be Kind Girl" wasn't actually kind. That made headlines, but what a lot of people missed was how she reflected on the toll it took on her ego and self-esteem.
Look at the temple, and then look at the... Let me see Ellen's background. What? Oh, similar. That looks like a building, though. Like
yeah, sure.
Is that a building in LA? That might be a building in LA.
She said, "There are such extremes in this business. People either love you and idolize you, or they hate you. And somehow, the haters are louder." Sounds like someone bitter about being exposed, not someone genuinely sorry for what happened. In May 2025, Aaron Rodgers appeared on Joe Rogan's podcast and tried jokingly to compare Ellen's old talk show set to Epstein Island because of the architecture. Rogan shut that down fast, saying it looked like a building in LA and was probably coincidental. But the fact people are even making these comparisons shows just how far Ellen's reputation has fallen. People online are literally comparing her to one of the most notorious figures in modern history. So what's the internet saying? On Twitter, one person wrote, "Ellen knew about those parties and now she's living her best life in England while Diddy's facing life in prison. Make it make sense." Another viral comment said, "Joe Rogan is the only one brave enough to say what we're all thinking. Why is Ellen getting a pass when Ashton Kutcher gets roasted for the same thing?" On TikTok, one user wrote, "Ellen asking about Diddy then immediately leaving the country is the most guilty behavior I've ever seen. She knew something." And this comment really sums it up. The fact that Ellen's toxic workplace was exposed, she never really apologized, and then she left the country when Diddy's case heated up? That doesn't seem like a coincidence. The public isn't buying Ellen's innocent act, and Joe Rogan pointing it out is giving people permission to say what they've been thinking all along. Remember at the start, when we asked why nobody's talking about Ellen in relation to Diddy? Here's the answer. Ellen still has powerful friends in Hollywood and the media. Even though her show ended and her reputation took a hit, she's still Ellen DeGeneres. She's still got connections, money, and the ability to control her narrative to some extent. But here's what's changing. People like Joe Rogan, who have massive platforms and don't play by Hollywood's rules, are starting to point out the obvious. They're asking the questions mainstream media won't. Rogan's whole point is calling out BS wherever he sees it, and he sees it with Ellen. She had multiple conversations with Diddy about these parties, admitted to knowing about them, and is now completely silent while Diddy faces serious charges? That's what Rogan finds suspicious, and he's right to point it out. The reason the title of this video says Ellen might be worse than Diddy isn't because there's proof she did anything illegal, it's because at least Diddy is facing consequences for his alleged actions. Ellen? She got to retire with millions, move to the countryside in England, and act like nothing ever happened. She's not facing real accountability, and in some ways, that might be worse. So what's next for Ellen? Honestly, probably nothing. She's in the UK, living her best life, posting pictures of sheep in her yard and horseback riding through the countryside. Unless someone comes forward with actual evidence linking her to anything illegal involving Diddy, she'll likely just be remembered as the mean talk show host. As for Diddy, his trial is ongoing, and more names keep surfacing. Will Ellen's name officially come up in court? We'll have to wait and see, but one thing's clear, Joe Rogan and the internet aren't letting this go anytime soon. The court of public opinion has already made a judgment about Ellen, and it's not great for her legacy. The woman who built her brand on being kind is now seen as anything but. So what do you think? Do you believe Ellen knew more about Diddy's parties than she's letting on? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more content breaking down celebrity drama that mainstream media won't touch, make sure to check out our other videos.